Ready to go when you're ready.
All right. Just give me, no, I can't see you, so I'll just start and see what happens. Somebody will tell me if it's not happening. Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of Burnside Council on the 27th of July, 2021, opening at 7:05 p.m. Sorry for the slight delay while we were getting technology correct. We're having to meet on Zoom because of the COVID lockdown. So please bear with us as we run this meeting from at least 20 different locations. Welcome to those watching and listening from home. There will be no public question time tonight. Please remain silent and seated for the acknowledgements. We acknowledge that the land that we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the original custodians of the Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the Kaurna people today. We also pay respect to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people visiting and attending from other areas of South Australia and Australia. On behalf of the City of Burnside, I gratefully acknowledge and pay respect to those who have sacrificed their lives for this country and its people. Finally, we seek understanding and guidance in our debate as we make decisions that will impact on the lives of all those who reside, study, work in, or visit the City of Burnside. Grant us wisdom as we serve our community. Please be patient and respectful of each other, especially with these operational conditions tonight. It is important that all views of the elected members are heard before any decisions are made. Our CEO, Mr. Chris Cowley, now has some further instructions for this meeting held via Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we already covered it, but just a quick recap. But before I go any further, Councillor Jones, we do need to see you in camera to make sure it is Councillor Jones in attendance. Thank you, sir. The key to tonight is the use of the little hand that we were talking about earlier. So we'll use that extensively this evening. The key, it will be your key to, if you want to comment, ask a question, move, seconded, or vote, in particular vote. When the Mayor asks for those in favour, can I just ask you to leave them up until we ask you to put them down? Allows us just to get the numbers. Now, if we do call a division, we'll go through a process where obviously we'll set aside the vote. All in favour, again, keep them up until you're asked to take them down, and conversely to record the against. Just bear in mind this evening, I've got the directors online here this evening to answer any questions, but I don't have any general managers or other staff. We will attempt to obviously answer every question we can, but we may have to take things on notice if we haven't got the subject matter expert in the room. But I think the key to tonight is let's hasten slowly and we'll slowly progress through the agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right, there are no, well, I'm up to item 6. There are no apologies or leave of absence. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? Don't see any hands up, so I will move on. Confirmation of minutes. Would someone like to move that they are confirmed?
I will.
Councillor Dawes, you have your hand up first, and Councillor Piggott was second. Anyone wish to speak? Right. All those in favour? I'm just looking for all the hands to go up, unless, of course, there's someone going to go against. 1, 2, 3.
Carried, Madam Mayor.
You got them all?
Yes, it's carried.
Okay, carried. Thank you. Sorry, those hands are very small.
So everyone can put their hands down. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there is no adjourned business and there are no public presentations this evening. I'll go through the reports and seek those who wish to explore them.
Madam Mayor, if I can just jump in for a second.
We have to do 11.1
we need to deal with 11.1
first. Okay, that's fine.
Because that's the report that allows us to do this meeting via Zoom.
All right, I seek a mover for 11.1. Councillor Cornish, seconded by Councillor Davis, I think. So does anyone wish to speak? All right, I will put the motion then. All those in favour?
It's carried, Madam Mayor.
All carried. Thank you very much. Now I'll seek those who wish to withdraw anything, just as long as everyone's moved there, taking their yellow hands away.
Yep, good to
Julian?
go, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, 11.2, is everyone who wishes to withdraw that for debate? If not, sorry, Councillor Hubel, you do?
Yes.
You wish to withdraw it?
Yes, I would like to withdraw it.
Sorry?
Yes, I would like to withdraw it.
No, I heard you. That's fine. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge. 11.4, remake of delegations. I believe Councillor Davey.
Did we miss point 3?
Councillor Lemon. Sorry, I missed it. I missed 11.3. Apology. I'll go back to 11.3, the co-naming of the community garden. So anyone, I've got Councillor Lemon's hand up. Was that for this one or for the one after? Councillor Hubel, are you withdrawing this one as well?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, 11.4 is the remake of delegations. Councillor Davey, I believe you have. I think Councillor Lemon, can you correct me if I'm wrong? I'm finding it difficult to watch 3 screens at once. CEO, who had their hand up first, please?
Madam Mayor, Councillor Davey wishes to withdraw that.
Okay, thank you. The 11.5, the annual bylaw.
Could I just ask that Councillor Lemon and Councillor Davey put their hands down? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's the problem that Councillor Lemon's hand has been up, kept on coming up because it was up before Councillor Davey. All right, anyway, 11.5. No one wishes to withdraw that? If that's...
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Davey, you wish to?
Yeah.
11.6, the amendment of Code of Practice, Procedure of Meetings. Anyone wish to withdraw that? No hands. All right, those who'd like to move it, Councillor Davis, you're happy to move it? Second it. Do you wish to speak? No. Councillor Cornish, you're seconding. Do you wish to speak? All right, then I shall put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried.
Carried, Madam Mayor.
All right, the Chief Executive's report, 11.7. Nobody wishing to withdraw it, so I seek a mover. Councillor Cornish, I think you had your hand up first, or I'm not sure if it was Councillor Cornish or Davis. Don't confuse me by putting your hand up visibly on the screen.
Move Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Davis.
Okay, do either of you wish to speak?
We don't normally speak to these. No.
All right, no one wishes to, oh, sorry.
To the vote.
Got confused. All right, I don't need to be told what to do except by the CEO, thank you.
What's our meeting procedures? So,
right. If you just put it to the vote, Madam Mayor, then we'll move on.
Thank you. All right, those in favour, please, to raise your hands.
It's carried, Madam Mayor.
Carried, thank you. The Mayor's activity report, 11.8.
Yes. Councillor Henschke.
Is that to pull it or to?
She wants to withdraw it.
Okay.
Withdraw. Thank you.
Right. We shall go back now then to Councillor Hubel, 11.2.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, so Tregenza Oval master plan, which we've been working on for quite a while now. Look, this is something that has been looked at very thoroughly. There has been a good amount of debate about individual elements within this master plan. And look, this sort of to and fro is a good thing. And the vibe of it all, though, I think is what's important here. And that is the activation of this site as a whole for greater use. A couple of things I just wanted to give some commentary on, some of the individual elements that were up for discussion. The basketball hoop was something that was fairly disliked by residents in saying that there is basketball facilities at Warrego Reserve, which is quite close. And look, to be fair, it is an easy element for us to put a pin in at this stage. The cricket net is something that is very popular. I mean, looking at the condition of it tells us that it's well used. I think the big thing though was non-rugby use. I mean, obviously the Old Collegians Rugby Club is a prominent tenant of the space. And look, it is explicitly stated within the master plan principles that we're looking at a range of unstructured activities, as well as unstructured activities to be incorporated into the design, as well as investigation of summertime options, which is also something that the rugby club is in support of. Melaleuca trees cause some discussion. Unfortunately, though, these are trees with zero life expectancy, and the activation of that northern end relies on opening up the space, unfortunately, despite their benefit to koalas. And play equipment was also something that came through.
1 minute to go.
There are, like I said, basketball at Warrego. There's also more thorough playgrounds for older children at both Miller Reserve, just to the south, and Warrego, just to the west. So look, this is a master plan which really has been looked at very carefully. We've come back and forth, lots of consultation with elected members and the public, and I think we're just about good to go on this.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Jones. You wish to speak now or wait?
I'll wait, Mayor, if I may.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Councillor Davey. Councillor Davey.
Oh, sorry, I didn't unmute. I'd like to thank Paul for his introduction and Barry Cant and his team for getting this together to this stage, putting together a great report. My one concern was the melaleucas, but hopefully we'll have some really good plantings to replace these. We can put advanced trees and landscaping in there and get it established fairly quickly. The one issue that amazes me is the basketball hoops and why we actually consider installing them, because we actually have problems in our area on 2 courts with the noise from basketball hoops. And so many people have them in their own homes now. I wonder why we need to install these as a community facility. Is there any answer to that? Thanks.
Sorry, I've lost my connection.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if I can refer that to Mr. Cant.
Thank you, Chris, through the Mayor. It's quite a standard community provision to include in a lot of reserves. However, particularly through this master planning process, the request to install a basketball hoop was actually prominent in the first round of consultation. It was only when we included it in the draft master plan for the second round of consultation that we received a number that were against, particularly those neighbours right next to that area.
Okay.
Councillor Turnbull, I'm not sure, I lost connection for a minute, so I'm not sure if CEO of Councillor Turnbull was next.
If I can help you out, Madam Mayor, we have Councillor Turnbull, then Councillor Henschke, then Councillor Dawes.
So it actually does put them in order on here. Okay, right, Councillor Turnbull, then off you go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit disappointed with this revised master plan. It looks a bit like it was fait accompli to me. On pages 4 to 8, the suggestions for EMs were collated, but it was all no, 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 and occasional yes. And the thing about the basketball hoop is, if you go to Warrego, well, I have been the last couple of days several times just to check it out, and it's used all the time by our youth who are about 14, 15, lots of groups of boys all playing each other, having a wonderful time. Great, but we need something, we need more of these basketball hoops. I remember when my kids came to this area, they thought so too. Nothing around here. And if we have one in the revised place at Tregenza Oval, which was on the plan, it would be really good for people who come to the community garden with kids, say about 10, 12, whatever that age group is, who can have something to do. They don't want the baby playground up there. They'd like something a little bit better than that, to be honest, a little bit more active. So I would say keep the basketball hoop in. I'd love to see it in. I'd love to see the shed move too, because who wants to have a picnic by a shed? You can do that at home. Go and sit by your shed and have a picnic. That's really not helpful having the shed there. So I'm a little bit disappointed in it, and I reckon it needs tweaking, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Councillor Henschke, you were next.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I wish to congratulate the administration and the elected members supporting the idea of retaining community land to create this first step in a community garden. I think there's great opportunities once the infrastructure is there to further develop the site, see how the community responds to it. I look to other great examples. For example, in Brunswick and Melbourne, there's the Ceres Community Environment Park, for example, and this is the most visited environmental education centre in Australia. It's won awards. There are facilities, a conference, convention. There's a cafe. You can buy plants there. It's a go-to destination. We have the infrastructure there. We have sporting facilities, and over time, I hope that there is a vision to diversify and use these facilities to create a destination much like the one in Melbourne, which is very successful. So I support this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Dawes.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I believe that the plan has been improved, so I'm happy that we took a bit more time, and it's a lot better plan than it was before. But I am with Councillor Turnbull on this one. You know, I'd like to see some further enhancements, especially in the northeast corner. But look, my thoughts were passed on to administration. We did meet out there. You know, some have been accepted, some have not been accepted. But I still think we could have done a little bit better. But that's just my opinion. The other thing I'd just like to pass on to administration is that netball post on the green turf. I'm hoping that if it does turn to mud or dirt underneath the hoop only, that a hard stand will be put in its place, you know, over the period of summer or winter. But I think putting a netball post on green grass just doesn't fit well with me. But anyhow, I'll leave that one with administration. And I do thank council for allowing us another two to 4 weeks to look at this plan and enhance it from what it was before. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up. So Councillor Jones, are you ready to speak now?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, I just want to say I think it's a good plan. I think the key is there's no funding for the vast majority of the things in the plan. There's no particular timeline because that was taken out at an earlier stage. So it's not a year 1 to 5 thing. We've got plenty of time if the community later on come on and say, let's have a basketball hoop. Let's put in a community grant application. We can see when the community garden's up and running what it's like. I think we should go with this plan. It's a good plan rather than sort of endlessly getting a perfect plan for things that we might not be doing for 10, 15 years. We've got lots of other reserves we need to kick off the planning on. You know, Belliette's coming. And I think we should move on to those and say that, you know, this is pretty good, given that, you know, 90% of the space is taken up by the rugby club. There's not a whole lot of stuff we can do to it, unlike some of our other reserves. So I hope you support the motion.
Thank you. I shall put it to the vote. Those in favour? Oh, sorry. I apologise.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't give you an opportunity for the mover, Councillor Hubel, to speak again. Do you wish to, Councillor Hubel?
Oh, thank you, Worship. Just to say, look, Councillor Turnbull brought up a series in Brunswick. That is an absolute gem of a place, and if anyone's ever in Melbourne, they should definitely go there. And if we ever come across 4 to 5 acres of land, I'd be hoping we'd have something very similar. That's a good thing to be looking to.
Thank you. It was Councillor Henschke who mentioned that, and that's why Councillor Turnbull was waving her arms. Okay, I shall put it to the vote. Those in favour?
It's carried, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. It's carried. What's a brown hand?
I think your system just shows in a different colour, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. It's just that one of the hands came up brown and I wasn't, that's why I was a bit slow to respond. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. The next one is Councillor Davey. No, it's not. Councillor Hubel again. The co-naming.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I don't have much to say about this, apart from pointing out that I'm really quite excited that we are adopting the co-naming for this garden. The Ghana Wara Karpanthy obviously being consulted on the naming here, and I think that Laurel Avenue, Pekuna Wirra, the Peter Bannett Organic Community Garden, as some people said in the consultation, was a bit of a mouthful, but to be fair, yes, these co-namings can be on the lengthy side compared to what we're used to, and I think that's kind of the point that we need to make when we're adopting co-naming, and I think one of the things that comes out of our reconciliation action plan will be obviously not speaking out of turn, but one of the things I think will come out will be a bit more of a focus on co-naming, and that is so important in reconciliation, because what it's doing is it's putting at forefront of our minds the connection that our Indigenous community has to the land, has for tens of thousands of years and continues to do so. So look, I think this is a really, really important step we're going through. Community has approved. Look, I can see the majority was slim, but look, I think we're good to go on this one. So I hope to get everyone's support for this.
I seek a seconder. Councillor Jones, you wish to speak now or withhold your opportunity?
I will hold off again. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? I don't have any hands up, so it might be you again.
Madam,
sorry, Councillor Dawes. Hand just came up.
Oh yes, I think Councillor Hubel was correct here. It is a bit of a mouthful, but I know the Adelaide City Council tried very hard to change the park lands from Park 1 to Park 24. And then for each of those parks, they have a Indigenous name attached to them. It's going to take some time for people to recognise that, I believe. We have a very strange situation that where the university ovals are, that is Park 12. It's also called Red Gum Park. It's also called Karawira, and that's got 4 names. So let's just be thankful we have only got 2 names here. But as to what it's to be called, I think there was 3 or 4 examples given by administration as to alternatives. So some people might call it Peter Bennett, and some people might use the Indigenous name, but I think that's the best we can do at this stage.
Councillor Lemon. Councillor Lemon.
Yeah, she's just working out how to unmute herself. Just need to unmute yourself, Councillor Lemon.
Say that.
There we go.
I hate it when you say that. I hate it when you say that. I should never be muted. I wasn't going to say anything about this, but I think it's important to actually understand that the Burnside pool which I still call the Burnside Pool, is actually the George Bolton Swimming Centre. That's its proper name. And we debated that name in this council chamber. No, not in my library, certainly in the proper council chamber, a long time ago, saying it should actually have its proper name. I think proper names are important, and it takes a long time for them to get used properly. This is something that is important to do. It is important to actually have things co-named with the First Peoples language in the First Peoples language. And I certainly support this, as awkward as people might think it is, and as silly as some people might think it is. I don't. I think it's incredibly important. I certainly support this motion.
I don't see any other hands up. So Councillor Jones, are you ready to speak now to second?
Why not? Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, look, I support this. The community consultation was in favour. Some of the suggestions are untenable, I think, because they tinker with the Ghana name, and we need to go with the name from the official naming body. Coming from a bilingual country, Wales, where we have lots of bilingual names, I think Councillor Dawes has it right. You use one or the other. So I was born in Neath. The Welsh name is Castellnave. But you don't say, I'm going to Neath Castellnave to see my nan. You say one or the other. So I think that will, in spoken speech, make it a lot simpler than everyone going around pronouncing this 9-letter name. So I hope everyone support the motion and we can get cracking. Thanks.
Now, Councillor Hubel, do you wish to speak again?
Madam Mayor, I've just got two questions. One from
sorry,
two questions.
apologies. Yes, they
Councillor
came up
Davis.
afterwards. Yeah. Councillor Piggott, was it you first, and then Councillor Davis?
Yeah, I think it was. Thank you. Look, I certainly support the sentiment. The thing I don't quite understand is why it needs to be Laurel Avenue, Pakurna, Wirra. Why the Indigenous, the Ghana name seems to be sort of doubled twice. And look, I guess I've missed the boat a bit. We've discussed this twice, and I apologise when I'm raising it. But my question is there a necessity to do that? And has the horse bolted to actually remove Laurel Avenue? I mean, Laurel Avenue is where it is, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in the name.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to have a go at answering that one. This was a direct recommendation from the Ghana people.
Oh, okay.
So we actually asked the question as officers of the Ghana when it came back, and they were quite adamant that their preference was for the Laurel Avenue and the Ghana wording. So that's our recommendation.
All right. It's a shame. Thank you.
Now, Councillor Davis.
I still think it should be called the Hubel Jones Community Garden. That's just me.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Hubel, do you wish to speak again? Do you wish to sum up now?
Oh, just briefly, Your Worship. Yeah, look, and this is new ground for a lot of us. And look, Councillor Piggott, the query you've made, I think, is going to be probably one of the most common ones that we get, and that again points us to one of the biggest opportunities and roadblocks that we have towards reconciliation, and it's education and knowledge about these things. And always the thing is, ask the question. And I think that's what we've been doing, and we're being open, and I think we're being really progressive here. And look, I know that some people are referring to Victoria Park as Paka Pakanthi. Some people refer to Victoria Square as Tartan Yanga. Apologise if I got those pronunciations wrong, but I think I'm getting better at it. And that's another thing. We can find Ghana language intimidating with pronunciation, but it comes with practice, and it comes with becoming more familiar. And this is one thing that we are doing to show leadership in that space. So this is a good thing.
I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Looks like it's carried. Now, Councillor Lemon, I believe you had your hand up first for 11.4, remake of delegations.
Thank you. I move the officer's recommendation. This is something that you'll note that there's a very comprehensive document attached to this. The legislation now requires us to change our delegations, and it will probably require us to do this every 6 months or so, I'm led to believe, as the new plan evolves and gets developed. And I recommend that we do this tonight so that we can continue seamlessly to do the things that we do in our planning department.
I seek a seconder.
I think Councillor Dawes.
Oh, yes, Councillor. Sorry, Councillor Dawes, you were seconding?
Yes, I am.
Do you wish to speak now or hold your opportunity?
Madam Mayor, have you got two devices going?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not pausing that.
I will speak later.
Madam Mayor, can we just take 2 seconds? Just whether Matt can have a look at why we've got the reverb going.
Just looking into it now. Chris, would you mind muting for a sec? Test. Okay. And Madam Mayor, would you mind unmuting for a sec?
Okay.
Testing. All right, we still do have a bit of an echo.
But I've got no other, there's nothing else on.
I'm just going to see.
Still on.
Oh, it's me. Sorry.
Test. All right, yeah, fixed. Thank you, Helga. All right, back to business. Sorry, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we're all good to go now. Thank you, Matt.
I will speak later, Mayor.
All right, you'll speak later. Now I've got two other names. Councillor Davey, your hand is up next.
Just there you go.
Thank you. I have an amendment. Thank you, Mayor. And that's a new part 4 to this motion. So I'm moving 1, 2, 3, and moving a new or additional part to make an alternate motion. And it is that part 4, that the CEO ensures so if this can be amended, that the CEO ensures that he, any delegates and subdelegates are made aware of the Burnside Strategic Plan 2030 by providing them with access to the plan and ensuring, where relevant and appropriate, that the principles are incorporated in the exercise of delegated powers relating to matters of heritage, the environment, and infrastructure in particular. Thank you. Thank you. These are a really important set of delegations, as Councillor Lemon has acknowledged, and there have been very significant changes made to the delegated powers under the Planning, Development and Infrastructure Act. So while we consider the formal instruments of delegation, these powers that are made to the CEO and his nominated delegates, I think it's timely for us to consider how these will impact on the business of council and its decision-making, and ultimately its effect on the community and its sense of place. It's been mentioned that this will be administered and entirely by our planning department, but that's not exactly true. I don't think with our restructure. Some of our instruments are relevant to, for example, land management agreements, code amendments, open space contributory scheme, the Urban Trees Fund, road widening, bridges, roads and drains, and the Urban Tree Canopy Offset Scheme. So these are some examples of the scope of the instruments. And of course, many of the actions and decisions made may well affect Burnside's heritage, infrastructure and environment in particular. So I think it's therefore important that the CEO ensures that his decision-making and that of any delegates and sub-delegates conforms with the principles and expectations of Burnside 2030, City of Burnside strategic plan. And as I said, this is particularly relevant for preservation of our heritage, plus for our objectives in relation to climate change, management of our tree canopy, and the many environmental concerns which are affected by decisions made by these delegates, which will now be across the directorates because we've had our recent restructure. For example, some planning and development...
A minute to go.
Some planning and development applications involving community land on, for example, nature strips, driveways, etc., may be assessed outside the traditional development section. So, for example, you may have a development approval for a new home containing a driveway. That may all be approved, but at the end of the build, after a year or so, the owner might decide they want some changes made. The development planning stops at the end of the property, and the interaction and interface with the crossover and the nature strip is now managed by another directorate. So a retrospective application for a larger double driveway may be referred to the Department of Environment and Place. So I think we need to have very clear systems in place and training to manage this issue. Thank you.
I have two people who wish to speak, but I need to seek a seconder for the amendment first. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Davis, you're seconding the amendment?
No, Madam Mayor.
Oh, you've removed your hand. Councillor Henschke, are you seconding the amendment?
Yes.
Is your hand just up to speak later?
Seconding.
You're seconding the amendment. Okay, thank you. You wish to speak now?
Yes, I have a question first.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
This, to delegate to other officers, does that also include to delegate to other officers who can then engage consultants with these powers?
Through Madam Mayor, I'll refer that to Mr. Cooper, please.
Thank you for the question. If you could just hold on 1 second, I'm just seeking a clarification from the team. I won't be a minute. Thank you for waiting. My understanding is that that will only be the case if we need those consultants. We can delegate to consultants if we wish to. It's a decision of the CEO.
Thank you. I wish to speak. I agree with Councillor Davey and thank her for this amendment. I do think it's really important that going forward that the administration consider in-house roles in regards to heritage decisions regarding in respect to demolition applications, in regard to whether a proposed development does in fact enhance and complement the existing historic character. I believe that outsourcing such decisions reduces the in-house capability, and we do need to develop our capabilities in protecting our heritage areas so that we do have a future for our children, and we are not watering down the heritage character of our suburbs. So I support this motion.
Councillor Davis, you wish to speak on the amendment?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
This is through your worship to the CEO. Does this, and I don't think it does, but does this narrow the scope from what's legally permissible under the Act?
Three, Madam Mayor. No, I'm comfortable because in essence, I already do this for my staff anyway, and to make sure they're acutely aware of their heritage responsibilities. So I see this as just complementing what I'm already doing with the staff.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Hubel, no, sorry, Councillor Lemon, you wish to speak or ask a question?
I wish to ask a question, if I may. These delegations that we're actually passing right now that are subject to the legislation around the Planning Act, what link do they have, if any, to our strategic plan? And in asking that question, I'm saying, what link does the legislation have to our strategic plan in terms of planning decisions?
Through Madam Mayor, I refer that to Mr. Cooper. Thank you, Helga. Councillor
Lemon. Thank you for your question, Councillor Lemon. It's a very good question because actually there isn't a direct link between the strategic plan for the city and the legislation that is in place. These reports can often be quite difficult and challenging to understand, but I want to assure all elected members that there is nothing untoward with this recommendation. The addition from Councillor Davey is perfectly acceptable. It's there to basically reinforce what we do already in terms of looking after our heritage. We work with heritage advisors. The delegations are all based upon experienced people. Otherwise, the CEO could not make those delegations. So in effect, what the changes that are coming through in this report are just operational, and it's to ensure that we're up to date and we can continue to do the business that we need to do. I think it's really important that we remember that the council is not a body in itself in terms of being able to make those planning decisions now. That sits with CAP and the assessment manager. So council is not a relevant authority in this. And that's something I think that probably we all forget at times. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Councillor David, no, sorry, Councillor Hubel, you have a question or wish to speak?
Sorry, Your Worship. Actually, my question was along the lines of what Councillor Davis, the answer to Councillor Davis's question answered mine. So sorry. No, I didn't mean to have my hand still up.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Now, I don't have any further hands up at this point in time. So I will go back. No, you don't have a chance to speak again on the amendment. So I shall put the amendment to the vote. Those in favour of the amendment? Those against? It appears to be carried.
Carried, Madam Mayor.
Yes. All right, thank you. Now the amendment becomes the motion, and I want to know if anyone else wishes to speak.
Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Hughes is trying to signal her.
Councillor Davey with a hand up.
Can I just clarify with the voting, because when we're saying all in favour, we're hitting the button. If you're against, you just don't raise your hand. Is that right? Because there were people that took their hand off and then I just want to clarify.
Yeah, I must admit I got confused in that one. I couldn't see. That's why I went to the CEO for the approval.
For clarity, when the mayor asks for all in favour, I'd like you to put your hands up. And then when the mayor asks for those against, if your hand was up for the for, you need to take that down so that I can see those members that are voting clearly against.
Advice, please, governance, should we do that vote again? If there was any confusion, I would be much happier to run it again if we're allowed to. Councillor Hughes was obviously confused, and I was too when I was trying to work out who was voting for, and who, because the yellow hands were flashing back and forth.
Through the mayor, that's your decision, Mayor. If you'd like to do that again, then that's up to you.
Well, I would. Sorry, I would like to do it again because I think there was some confusion, and I was confused, hence my query, because it wasn't clear to me who was voting for and who was voting against. It was numbers were going up and then down and then up again. So can I please then put this motion, the amendment again for a vote? So those who are in favour of the amendment, please raise your hands.
So I have, at the minute, I have 9 in favour, Madam Mayor.
Yes, I have. I've got 9 in favour as well. So the motion is carried.
Correct. Oh, the amendment.
Sorry, the amendment is carried. Yeah. So now I'll put the amendment. I have.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Davey appears to be wanting to say something.
Yes, Councillor Davey, I just saw the hand come up.
Thank you. I've got a question. Just to clarify what Mr. Cooper said earlier in response to a question, our planning and development department manages all of these applications, but I believe some planning and development applications are managed outside of that department now with these changes to the Act. Is that not true? And that was in relation to the example that I gave about driveways and enlargement of driveways and removal of street trees and those sort of things. They're not made anymore by the planning department.
Through Madam Mayor, if I can refer to Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, can I just check for 1 second again? Thank you. Okay, apologies for the delay. Yes, the answer to the question, Councillor Davey, is that yes, some others are involved in the planning process. We've got private certifiers. Some decisions are made by SCAP, but they do need to obviously liaise with the CO about the changes to the verge. If you're talking about what is the section 221, the crossover legislation, that is quite separate from the planning legislation at the moment, and there are moves afoot to ensure those two elements are brought together, but that isn't the case at the moment. But from a department-wise, the traffic team that reports into the Director of Environment and Infrastructure, and that's under Mr. Kant's management, and I look after the planning team. But as ever, we're one team, and we'll report into Chris.
Right, I don't seem to have any more hands up at this stage, so I will need to go back to Councillor Lemon.
Thank you. I'm a bit disappointed.
No, wait a minute, Councillor Lemon. I just had checked my notes, and this I'm getting echo again. Councillor Lemon, could you just turn your microphone off, because Councillor Dawes seconded the motion but withheld his right to speak, so I need to give him the opportunity to speak before I come back to you.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Helga will certainly follow with her comments. Look, I have full faith in the CEO. I honestly didn't believe that we needed to add this at all. And as Mr. Cooper said, there is no direct link between the strategic plan and the planning legislation. If it's to reinforce it, okay, I understand. But as the CEO has already said, he actually does this as a matter of course. And if he didn't do it, I wouldn't have him as CEO. Simple as that. But anyhow, we'll see how it goes, and I'll pass it back to the Mayor.
Now it's back to Councillor Lemon to summarise.
Thank you. I endorse Councillor Dawes' comments. It's a bit disappointing, really, to see that this is actually part of a motion of council, because what it shows is an incapacity to understand the difference between planning legislation, the state, what our delegations are, and our own strategic plans. And they are very separate. So what I'd like to see at some stage, when and if we are ever able to do it, is a workshop on the difference between the two and how our administration staff actually do that other stuff. It's not necessary to put this into something like this, which is just putting forward delegations. It is very important that we do this properly, and our staff do it properly. But the reality is our strategic plan has no grunt when it comes to state legislation. And if the state wanted to run a steamroller over it, they would. And I think we need to know this. It's clear that most people don't. There's different ways of achieving what we all want to achieve. There's not a single person that sits in that council chamber that doesn't want heritage preserved, that doesn't want the environment preserved, doesn't want our canopy to increase. Putting an extra 0.4 on something where we're delegating people for planning powers under state legislation does nothing except waste our time. But I hope you support it.
Right, all those who are in favour, please raise your hands. Right, we have a majority. Thank you. It is carried. Now we move to the next item on the agenda, which is 11.5, and that is Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm moving in accordance with the recommendation, and I just had a couple of questions, please, which I didn't have a chance to ask outside of the session. These relate to bylaw 3, which are local government land. At 5,
give us a page reference, please, Councillor Davey.
It's paragraph 15.3.13, defacing property. There's no page numbering, so I can't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The numbers are fine.
That reference is adequate.
I'm just interested in the number of the increase in graffiti, which is quite significant, and if there's, well, it's incrementally significant, and if we note there's a reason for that. And my second question relates to, again, bylaw 3 at 15.3.13.1. Regarding encroachments, the McGill Stone Mine Reserve, 3 encroachments. 2 of the encroachments have been remedied via sale of the land to the adjoining owner. And I missed the community consultation period for this, so I just wonder when that was undertaken, please. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to refer that to Mr. Cooper, the two parts of that question.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, I can answer I can give a response to the first one. We'll have to take the graffiti one on notice, Councillor Davey. So if you leave that on me, we can get back to you. My colleague, Mr. Kant, might be able to throw some light on the timing of the encroachment consultation. So I'll hand over to Barry, if I may.
Through your worship, apologies, I'm just having a look through some of the communication that I received and we shared with elected members today, but I don't think the specific question that you've asked there has been responded, Councillor Davey, so I will have to take that on notice.
Right, do you wish to speak now, Councillor Davey?
Thank you. I just had a third question, if I may, or would you like to come back to me in accordance with our...
I need to, Councillor Davis has his hand up to speak, so I will need to go to him first.
Thank you.
Was the busking complaint about me?
We first of all need a seconder, Councillor Davis. Are you wishing to get second, and then you can ask your question?
Yeah, I can second.
All right, your second. Do you wish to speak about it and ask your question?
I'll reserve my rights just in case the complaint is about me.
Okay, thank you.
You might not be able to tell me, but do you know who the complaint was about busking?
Through Madam Mayor, I'm not sure whether Mr. Cooper is aware of not. We may have to take that on notice. But
I don't think it is about you, Councillor Davis, but I will check it out and report back on notice.
Thank you.
Right, Councillor Davey, you've got your question now.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question relates to, again, encroachments, and it's 15.3.163 McKenna Street Reserve. And I wondered what progress is being made in terms of the council resolution relating to resolution of those encroachments and the discussions with the local community, if there's a response to that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'll refer this to it's either Mr. Cooper or Mr. Camp, not 100% sure.
Through your worship, I'll take that one, Chris. The officers are certainly working through the council resolution. I don't have the council resolution directly in front of me, Councillor Davey, but there was a number of instructions or directions that we had to follow. Some of that was looking at the environmental impacts, the biodiversity of the land, etc. So the officers are working their way through that, and I believe, and I could be wrong, but I'll have to double check this. I believe the report is due to come back to council in either late August or early September.
Right, I don't seem to have any further hands up at this point in time, so I'm happy to go back to Councillor Davey if she wishes to sum up.
No, thanks, no.
All right, then I shall put the motion. Oh, wait a minute, Councillor Piggott, it's just up.
I think Councillor Piggott might have been preempting the vote.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. So hands up for those who are in support of the motion.
It's carried, Madam Mayor.
Carried, thank you very much. Now we need to move to the Mayor's activity report, I believe. Councillor Henschke.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move an amendment, sorry, not amendment, an alternative motion. And I believe it's been included there in yellow. That I, Councillor Henschke, move that council receive and note the activity report of the Mayor, Monceau, for the period 9 July to 21st of July. 2, receive and note the correspondence from Garrock and the Mayor's response. 3, council receive a report by September 2021, which compares the final planning and design code against council's existing submissions, and that the report identifies any concerns and proposes next steps to address these. 4, over the next 18 months, council monitor the impacts of the planning and design code in relation to local heritage. 5, receive that's not a change, that's what was in the officer's recommendation, receive and note any activity reports submitted by council members and that they are included in the minutes of the council meeting. So thank you, Mayor. This motion, alternate motion, refers to the the two letters that you've got there with the Mayor's report. A letter from Local Government Association and our response from the Office of the Mayor. Now, the Local Government Association simply, when you've read the letter, asks us and other councils to let them know about specific examples of where the PDI Act is affecting heritage and suburbs, the heritage in suburbs, the heritage of suburbs. Now, we've responded and we've said in the second paragraph, last sentence says, at this early stage, we have not observed any adverse impacts on heritage buildings. And so this alternate motion is about just expanding on what the administration's going to be doing anyway, and provides more clarity and certainty for our residents in heritage conservation zones, that we are continuing to monitor the impacts. So, for example, this week, a resident in Hewitt Avenue in Rose Park contacted me and others and said, there is an adverse impact to my property in this heritage area. And to that resident, it was very adverse that the neighbour suddenly was constructing a double-storey steel frame very close to the boundary. It came as a shock. There was no consultation because this is the PDI Act in action. Yet this resident was told about a sign going up at the Burnside Hospital some number of blocks away. So here we have an example, a recent example of what is adverse to that resident. Not what's adverse to our planning department, but to the resident. And there are various perspectives. Another perspective is residents walking around these heritage areas, noticing new development that looks like development that belongs in other suburbs, not heritage districts. For example, the representative items, which we used to be contributor items, have an aesthetic at the frontage and they have an aesthetic on the sides of their buildings. So when viewed along a street, they contribute to the streetscape character, not just at the front, but on the sides. New development, however, has no aesthetic and all respect to adjacent properties on the sides. You will see time and time again new development that looks like the second story incorporated into the roof line, and the second story incorporated into a roof line from the sides looks like a factory. It's got those tall windows on the sides. It looks ugly. So this does not complement the existing historic character. These are adverse impacts to the community, and the community will be speaking up more and more about this. So
time, please.
Yep. So thank the administration in working with me and the community on this amendment, just to let the residents know that we are listening to them. So in future,
Your Worship,
I do hope you support this. Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, you're on mute.
Sorry. I'll ask Mr. Spearman next time to stop the mute after the first challenge on the timing, because that one did go well over time. I appreciate the sentiment implied in that debate, but we do need to stick to our times. Okay. I think Councillor Davis, you have your hand up next. Are you wishing to second this?
yes, happy to second it.
And you wish to speak now or withhold?
I'll withhold.
Right, thank you. Then next person to speak is Councillor Hughes.
I'm going to speak against it, just purely, I don't have an issue with the sentiment, but I think to pull something like this is just the Mayor's report. And I know that there was correspondence in there and it relates to this, but I personally would like to see this come through as a motion on notice, so we have the opportunity to review it and think about what we're actually going to ask the administration for before the meeting, because I didn't know what this was going to entail. I haven't had time to think about it, and perhaps there's an element that's missing, or we would rather ask staff to collate within that report. So for me personally, while I don't have an issue with the sentiment, I do have an issue because I think we would just issued the mayor's report. If I knew about this in advance, perhaps would have had more time to think about it. I think Councillor Henschke has raised some reasonably fair points, but I'm not sure how these are going to be addressed anyway by this report, because she's saying that essentially these concerns that residents have, staff don't think they're an issue. So if they're subjective anyway, then I don't understand how staff are going to be able to report on what is perceived by the community as an issue, but may not be by the staff. Does that make sense? So I think while the sentiment is there, I'm not comfortable supporting this evening. If it came back as a motion on notice, we had time to consider the best way forward and make sure that we're getting the most out of the report. I perhaps would support it on another evening, but I won't be this evening.
Councillor Lemon.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. No, I also won't be supporting this. I think the Mayor's report is the Mayor's report, and I would be absolutely dismayed to see the Mayor's report having pages and pages of disgruntled residents saying, what are they building next door? That is not what the Mayor's report should be having. So that in the first instance will mean that I do not support it, while I support the sentiments. I think this is a separate motion. It needs to come as a separate motion. We cannot be discussing this planning stuff as part of the Mayor's report. The Mayor's report covers many, many aspects of things. And if we are going to incorporate something regarding planning and resident dismay, then it needs to come as a separate motion, and we need to think about how that can be done properly. So I won't be supporting this either.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I thank Councillor Henschke for her sentiments. I absolutely support those, but I think this isn't the right place to raise them. And I agree that a motion on notice would be a much better way to bring these to council to be addressed. Thanks.
Councillor Dawes.
Just unmute yourself there, Councillor Dawes.
Yes, there we are. I have a question for administration. In regard to point number 3, there's a request for a report by September 2021, which seems to me to be a fairly big report. Can I just have a indication for administration, probably Mr. Cooper, as to whether that would even be possible?
Certainly, through Madam Mayor, if I can refer that to Mr. Cooper.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, it was actually Mr. Kant that was the appropriate one, but I can let the Chamber know that the September deadline was discussed by the team. It is a big report, but we've done quite a lot of the work already, so the September deadline is achievable.
Councillor Jones, you are next.
Can I ask a question, please?
Certainly, go ahead.
If I vote this down, does that mean that a motion on notice reflecting the same sentiments can't be brought back for a year?
Through Madam Mayor, I'll take some governance advice on that one.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, no, that's not the case. It's not a rescission. This motion will just be lost, and an elected member is free to raise a new motion at any time.
Thank you.
The next person to speak is Councillor Piggott.
Thank you. A question: what was the plan of administration in regard to this issue and informing council ahead of this motion? Was there a plan to report to us in regard to the introduction and early signs of issues that might be arising?
Yes, through Madam Mayor, I'll refer that to Mr. Kant.
Through your worship, yes, that was the plan, Councillor Piggott. As Mr. Cooper has already mentioned, our team are already working through several elements of this, and it was always the plan to provide this information to council, firstly via Infodoc and through council report if necessary.
Thank you. Could I ask a supplementary question?
Just a moment, I'll check. There's no one else on the list, so I will allow that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Are we already the description of, well, there was a couple of descriptions in Councillor Henschke's motion. One was an issue of perhaps a notification on a property, as I understood it, different from the property that was being developed. I may have that wrong. And second was physical examples of, or some physical example of what was thought to be inappropriate. My question is, well, perhaps the first one is that something that can happen under the new law? And the second one, are we already got things being built under the new system?
Madam Mayor, if I can refer that to Mr. Cooper, I think.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, with respect to the second part of your question, Councillor Piggott, it's very early days for things to actually be being built. So it's highly likely that that particular development was approved under our old development plan. The signage will depend on the nature of the development itself. In terms of the first part, I'll just need to take some advice from the team. I'll be back shortly. Apologies, Councillor Piggott. I believe I'll have to take that one on notice, if I may, and get back to the elected members shortly.
That's okay. I'm happy to speak to the motion, Madam Mayor, if that's appropriate.
Go for it.
Yeah, look, I don't think anyone disagrees with sentiment. The fact that we've got a new planning system, we're not really sure where it's going to go. I'm not convinced actually at the moment that the poor implications of the change are currently being seen. I think that is still to come. I would like to have an update from administration as to what it does mean and what the early signs are. It sounds like I was going to get that as an elected member anyway. And I do agree with the principle that I think this really is motion on notice territory and not sort of bobbing it into a mayor's report motion. So I think on principle, I think we're better off to not vote this up, vote the original motion, and consider the planning thing in its own right as it deserves.
Right, I'm seeking anyone else who wishes to speak. There's Councillor Jones.
Can I propose a slight change to the motion that Councillor Henschke might accept as a variation? In number 4, it says in relation to local heritage. Can we say and other planning matters? Because I think it's too narrow, particularly in somewhere like Beaumont. We've only got one very small historic conservation zone, but I suspect we're going to be massively impacted by these new laws. So I'll ask Councillor Henschke if she would accept that.
Yes, I accept. Thank you.
And Councillor Davis as
I'll
a
accept the
seconder.
variation as well.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Cornish.
Thank you, Worship. I also agree with the sentiment. However, like some other elected members, I think I'd prefer this to be a motion on notice. It's too important to be hidden in a motion that's about receiving the mayor's reports. It should, you know, in searching for minutes and resolutions, it needs to be its own standing planning motion and resolution of this council that we're doing this action rather than hidden in a mayor's report. So I'd much prefer to see us tackle this separately compared to within this, but completely agree with the sentiment.
Councillor Carbone.
Question, if I can, Your Worship. We've heard tonight a number of people saying they agree with the sentiment, they just don't like where it's been raised. Is there anything stopping Councillor Henschke in, if this was to fail, in to raise it in a few moments' time in other business? Therefore, we've alleviated that issue of squeezing it into the Mayor's report and putting it in perhaps where it belongs. So is that an option for Councillor Henschke?
Just to unmute yourself there, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it's really up to the rest of the councillors to agree as to whether or not it would be accepted as in other business. Right, I don't see any other hands up, but Councillor Davis, you haven't spoken yet.
No, all good.
You don't wish to say anything further to second?
Correct.
All right, so therefore I'll go back to Councillor Henschke.
Right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. Yeah, look, it sounds like a technicality really, and thank you all for agreeing with the sentiment. It is an important topic, and seeing these letters in the Mayor's, attached to the Mayor's report, you know, could be argued, you know, they could have been a separate report to us in council. So hence why I was compelled to put this alternate motion up and not to just receive and note these letters. So it's my signalling to the community that, you know, we're listening, we can hear you, and we're going to let you know what we intended to do. These the words in this motion were drafted up in very close consultation with administration. I want to assure you all that that is what has been done. This is not me making up any words. The council administration assured me that this would be feasible. But look, if it's really very, very important that it mustn't be in this motion, combined in a motion under the topic of the Mayor's activity report, then that's fine. And thank you, Councillor Carbone, for finding a solution, which is to put it into other business. So this is just taking up a lot of time. I'll stop talking and we'll see what happens, and then I'll raise it in other business. Thank you all.
Right, I'll put it to the vote. Thank you. Please put your hands up if you wish to support it.
Got 6 in favour, Madam Mayor.
Right, casting vote.
I think we should go through the process, Madam Mayor, of asking for those against.
Okay, yes, all right, thank you. Those against, now, wait a minute, I've got all hands are clear now. All right, now put your hands up if you're against the motion. There's only 5 now.
5. Councillor Davey? Which way are you voting, Councillor Davey? Just unmute yourself.
Or raise your hand.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
I voted against it, but my hand was lost. So
that's okay. So
right, I'm now voting against.
So, Madam Mayor, we require your casting vote.
Okay, look, I really do, I fully support the sentiment, but I actually do believe that it does require a report, a motion that is outside of this merely accepting the Mayor's report. So I am not going to support the motion because I think I would rather it be put into the other business for tonight. And so it remains as a single entity that is actually very important. I also just wanted to make note that I think there was something that Councillor Jones added, other planning matters, or is it, the heritage has been removed in number 4?
No, Madam Mayor, it was just adding to slightly broaden the context.
Okay.
And other planning matters.
Impacts of the planning and design and other matters. Okay. It's just that the question was on chat from Councillor Jones. All right. So the motion is lost, but I hope that the elected members will consider it to be appropriate to be raised and discussed in the other business. All right, we'll move on to question on notice, which has the answers have been received. There are no motions on notice this time, but there is some other urgent business. I'd like to lead off with the first one, and that is just, I think I need to seek permission to write to the Governor of South Australia, who is soon to be retiring from his position, to thank him on behalf of the City of Burnside for his outstanding work over the last 7 years as Governor of South Australia. He has been an amazing example of resilience and fortitude and sincerity, and has led his role, made a really, really excellent job. And I'd like consent from the rest of the councillors for me to write a formal letter of thanks to him from the City of Burnside. So I seek your support on that. I don't know if it's required to have a formal motion, but
I'm happy for you to do that. I don't know.
Are you all happy for me to do that? It looks like I have a majority. Yes, thank you.
Formal
I think
motion
it's
would
very
be appropriate, I feel.
Sorry?
Yeah,
Formal motion?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm happy to move that the Mayor write to the Governor on behalf of Council, thanking him for his service.
And I wish to second this. Councillor Henschke.
I can, of course, actually move a motion myself, but I'll leave you to.
It's better not to.
Thank you. Oh, other mayors do it all the time.
Yeah, it's better not to.
All right, just that the Mayor write to the Governor on behalf of the City of Burnside to thank him for his outstanding service.
Can I suggest the residents of the City of Burnside?
Yes, on behalf of the residents of the City of Burnside.
Can I also mention that, as far as I know, he's actually a resident of the City of Burnside, so he will be returning to us.
That will be actually in the letter.
Welcome him back too.
Yeah, that will be in the letter, don't worry.
We look forward to you continuing to pay your rates.
I was told the other day by somebody at a restaurant that he comes in often for takeaway. That was pre-COVID, of course.
Madam Mayor, can I just foreshadow, once we've dealt with this item, we just need to go back and actually receive your mayoral report.
Oh, okay. Yes, we didn't do a vote on that, did we?
So just foreshadow that.
Yeah, okay. All right, so moved Councillor Davis, seconded Councillor Henschke, letter that the Mayor write to the Governor of South Australia.
And you can add some additional words, I'm sure, Your Worship.
Yes, I will. On behalf of the residents of the City of Burnside, to thank him for his outstanding service. All right, I shall put that to, unless anyone wishes to speak, I shall put it to the vote.
I think we've got a majority, but Councillor Davey, you look very worried. Can you please unmute yourself?
I can't. Thank you. I'm now allowed to. Could we actually say on behalf of the community of the City of Burnside, or add something about the community? Because that's really quite important to him. He always emphasises that in his speeches.
Yeah. No, we'll certainly incorporate some community wording in the letter.
Thank you.
But that's not a formal motion.
So
no. But it's carried, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move the mayoral's report.
Yes, we just need to go back to the Mayor's report. So can we do that now? Thank you.
I move that.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Davis, seconded by Councillor Cornish. All those in favour?
I'm voting, but I.
Yeah, that's all right. We've got a majority.
Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. It is carried. Now, I believe that.
I have other business, Your Worship.
Yes, I believe that Councillor Davis has a motion that he wishes to provide us with, and I'll get him to do that whilst Councillor Henschke is getting ready for hers, assuming she wishes to move that as well. So, Councillor Davis, please.
Thank you. And apologies, councillors, for not sending this through sooner. It was done late this afternoon. Essentially, can I read the motion, Your Worship?
Yes, please.
That council write to all the commercial entities operating within the City of Burnside, whose operations have the potential to negatively impact the quality of water flowing through watercourses throughout the city area, council area, seeking the following: a summary of the control measures that are in place to ensure compliance with EPA water quality standards, confirmation of how their control measures performed over the current winter period. If the control measures failed, what steps are being taken to ensure future compliance. In speaking to that, I've had a number of inquiries from residents who are very concerned about the level of silt that's been going through our watercourses. We have two quarries primarily, White Rock Quarry and Borrell, who both have preventative measures in place to try and reduce the amount of silt that's going through these systems. Over this last period of rain, it seems that those systems are not, well, it seems to me at least that they're not operating very well. And I've had a number of residents raise this with me. And perhaps you've also had that as well. It was really largely in response to many of those concerns, and also of residents that have been raised, and that's been actually made, published to the wider community. I think it's important that we as a council take steps to address those issues. It's also going to be a very wet week next week. Now, one point I would like to make is that both White Rock Quarry and Borrell have catchment ponds in place. When Borrell put in their 20 megalitre pond, they said to me and other councillors who were present, essentially, that it would capture all the water and they wouldn't keep it too full. My concern was always that they would fill it up completely because they use it to wet down their quarry, and then eventually when it does actually rain, that the water would flow straight through. I think it would be a good time now to raise this issue with them, so that we as council can follow up on these issues and ensure that they are complying with their mine operation plans. There might be other operators, and this motion's been left general, but the two operators in my mind are those two quarries, and I can't think of anything else personally. And so, look, I hope you support the motion. I think that'll be it's a good show of leadership for our community, and I think halfway through this wet season, it would be good to understand how those management plans were working, and to indicate to them as well that we are watching and that we are taking an interest in this particular matter. So I hope that you support the motion.
Just before I get anyone else to speak, can we just fix the all and turn the all before the in the first line to write to all the instead of the all.
It's Old English.
Yeah.
and Your Worship, it's what steps are being taken in number 3, not
yes.
A.
Yeah. I was getting to that one. Are being taken, and throughout is one word in the third line. I know you were hovering over that before, didn't get a chance to finish fixing it. I just wanted to tidy those up first. Okay, the next person to I believe Councillor Hubel, you'd like to second it because you had your hand up next.
I don't necessarily want to second it. I'd had some questions to administration on their interpretation of this.
Can I get the second?
So should I just sit back on that one then?
Yes, please. I'll seek a seconder first. So Councillor Jones, are you wishing to second? You're next on the list.
Again, I had probably the same question as Councillor Hubel. That White Rock Quarry, I don't believe.
Hang on a minute. No, look, no,
doesn't operate
stop.
in the city of Burnside. So this motion needs to change to capture that, I think.
Stop, Councillor Jones. I want to get a seconder first, and then questions can be asked. So can I get people to take their hands down unless they are wishing to second this motion? I've got Councillor Davey and Councillor Turnbull both wishing to second. So Councillor Davey, you're on this first. So you will second this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm happy to second this motion. I think, and especially with the clarifications that have just been made, I think it's entirely reasonable and a good motion.
Okay. Do you wish to speak any further?
No, thanks.
Right, okay, thank you. Now I can go to questions, and Councillor Hughes, you've got the first question, or you wish to speak on it.
I wish to do a bit of both. I'll ask the question first. Is this simply information that we could request from the EPA without us having to do this work ourselves? It's a question to the administration.
Through Madam Mayor, I think there's probably two prongs. I think I'd like to approach the companies, and Councillor Davis is correct. There's two companies in question. That will be our primary response. I don't see this as an onerous task, so I'm very comfortable doing it as an administration. So I don't think we have anything to gain, because the EPA will ask us whether we've engaged with the company, I believe. So I'm quite comfortable that we make the engagement.
So do you wish to speak now, Councillor Hughes, or wait?
Speak very briefly, and I feel like I'm just going to sound like a complete grumpy pants tonight, but to me, this is not an urgent thing that needs to be addressed tonight, and this should come through as a motion on notice. My understanding is motions without notice, it should be urgent council business, and perhaps I am grumpy because I'm sitting at home and we've sat still for an hour and a half without being able to stretch our legs, but I don't think it's necessary to address tonight. I think it should come through as a motion on notice rather than without notice, and I won't be supporting it purely for that reason, which is very stubborn of me, but that's the position I'll be taking tonight.
I have accepted this one, and I normally only accept things if they are urgent, and I do see this as actually as urgent, because we have a number of us have received emails and contact from people who are particularly concerned, and part of that particular concern right now is the massive amount of rainfall that we've had, which makes the appearance of these creeks look even worse than they possibly could be. And hence I have actually accepted this to be discussed tonight, because we need to act now while the issue is right there with us, and getting the EPA involved right away is important as well. So that's my explanation. You are still, of course, entitled to vote whichever way you wish on this matter. Councillor Lemon, you're next to speak.
Yes, thank you. That was my question. What is the urgency of this? Are we worried that we're not going to get this motion through when it stops raining and there's not going to be a problem and nobody's going to be able to see it? I can't, again, I also can't see the urgency, and I'd like this to come to council as a motion on notice. And I don't know how 2 weeks is going to make any difference to that, quite frankly. So is it urgent? Tell me if it's urgent, please, administration, if I may.
Through Madam Mayor, that's actually a question that needs to be asked by Councillor Davis, not the administration. We didn't bring this motion.
All right, Councillor Hubel, you're next to speak.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, look, I'm not sure where I'll go on this. I'm leaning towards supporting, given CEO's comments. Look, one reservation I did have, and I don't know if anyone can give me some commentary on this, but my concern would be, given that we are moving out of a lockdown, I'm just wondering, first of all, I guess, is what businesses or commercial entities, apart from the quarries, would be involved in this? Are we interpreting this to be, and CEO, you could take this as a question when I finish speaking, how we interpret the commercial entities? I'd just be very hesitant on putting this out of the blue administrative obligation on small businesses in the area, given that we're just moving out of a lockdown. So the timing on that is, I'm just sensitive to that. So if anyone was able to give me some clarification on those points, I'd appreciate that. I don't know if anyone can, but thanks.
Through Madam Mayor, I can give you clarification. And if I might, I just want to refer back to my previous answer. I wasn't alluding to the fact that I disagree with this motion. I totally support this motion. I think it's the motion is a sound motion. my understanding of this is that if this gets up, I'll be approaching our two key operators, in White Rock Quarry and Borrell. I take Councillor Jones's point. However, the way I'm going to interpret that is that their trucks traverse through our city, and also we know the water flowing off their site comes into the city of Burnside. It does give the officers a chance to just make some quick inquiries as to whether there are any other quarries that have impact into those creeks flowing through the city of Burnside. But my primary concern will be about the two key operators I mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Councillor Turnbull, you're next.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Look, I think this is a good motion. Thank you, Councillor Davis, for bringing it up. We've already had quite a few residents ringing us and emailing us about the quality of the water. And we actually had a meeting scheduled with the people from Borrell and Mr. Cant and ourselves for this week, but we had to cancel it because of COVID. So we were going to meet them up the top of the Ferguson Reserve, because that's where it's really noticeable, coming underneath all those people's little bridges. And I took photos at the time, and it's so turgid. It gets a little bit better going down Stonyfield Creek because of that mysterious white pipe, which emits a lot of water through their clear water, which dilutes it. But in Belliot Reserve, it's also very murky. And so I think it's quite urgent to the residents. They really are quite concerned about it. And hopefully we can get our meeting done next week and find out what's going on, if our restrictions have been removed. So we're on to it in our area anyway. So thank you anyway.
Councillor Hughes, you have a question?
I do have a question. It's just about the wording, because the CEO has said that he'll interpret this to essentially be those two quarries, but the wording is that you'll write to all entities which have the potential to negatively impact the quality of water, not just those that are negatively impacting the quality of water. So does that create an onerous amount of work for administration if that is the case?
Through Madam Mayor, I don't believe so. As I said, I'm going to interpret it quite narrowly, because we do know the key industries that have impact. I don't want to be as bold to say that they are having a negative impact, because it is our supposition at this point, even though we have seen the photographs that might suggest otherwise. Thank you.
Councillor Lemon, you have a question? Okay, then Councillor Jones.
I think, through Madam Mayor, I think Councillor Lemon is still attempting to speak. There we go.
Thank you. Sorry, this computer throws up little boxes on top asking me to update stuff. I don't know why. Always in the way. I may as well be married and have a husband who is always in the way. Anyhow, that's another story. This is a question to administration. So the reason we're doing this tonight, as opposed to a question on notice, is that we've had a lot of rain and the evidence is there, and we want to act while the evidence is there. Is that correct?
Councillor Lemon, I'll repeat my answer.
Yes, please do.
Councillor Davis brought this motion. It's for him, his question to answer.
Okay. Righto.
Thank you.
All right, next person to speak is Councillor Jones.
I just want to say, and perhaps Councillor Davis can address this in this summing up, if we want to speak to these two quarries, we should name them in the motion, because, as I said, White Rock Quarry is an Adelaide Hills Council, and if the CEO is going to say, oh, but they put trucks through our council area, well, so does every trucking company that drives down Portrush Road. If we're going commercial entities that can affect our water, you need to be writing to anyone with an underground fuel tank. So that's on the run. We've got 10 petrol stations in our council area, all have the potential to leak into our groundwater. So is that something we really want to be doing? I suggest we should just change the motion to say we want to write to Borrell and White and Hanson, but that's my opinion.
Councillor Davis, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Doesn't Hanson Quarries have 2 sedimentation ponds on our land after it crosses underneath the road?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't have enough knowledge on their operations to answer that. I don't know if any of the officers present are aware.
Through your worship, I am having a hunch that Councillor Davis is correct, but I would have to confirm that.
Right, Councillor Henschke, you're next.
Thank you. Yes, important, really important topic, and for the residents, and yeah, look, it's the role of the EPA to issue licenses and to ensure there's compliance. So, and I get that we're the voice of the residents that are concerned, and we could contact the EPA and say we've got concerned residents, but I'm now getting concerned that if we start naming companies or even indicating that these companies are not doing the right thing, there could be a negative perception there, and I'm a bit wary to imply that they're not doing the right thing. So I won't be supporting this for those reasons.
Next person to speak is Councillor Piggott.
Could I propose an amendment, please? Could I effectively do what Councillor Jones suggested and change it to the council right to Burrell Quarries and Hanson? Someone might need to help me with the actual
Madam Mayor, can I just jump in? It might be worth asking Councillor Davis whether he's happy to change the wording. You may get away without an amendment.
I've got no fear of an amendment, if you like.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to help.
Fine. Yeah. I took advice on not naming them.
Yeah. And if I may, that advice came from me, and I have no issues. I don't see any issues if we name them.
Then I'm happy to accept it.
So if I keep talking, then see if he's still okay. So then basically, I think it reads right to Burrell Quarries and Hanson seeking the following.
Just take out the older.
Sorry?
Take out the older.
Yeah. So it should read.
Thank you.
To and Hanson. So essentially we get rid of. Yep. Keep going, Ronnie.
Yeah. Hit that. If the mover and seconder are happy to take that,
I'm happy.
Can I speak to it?
The seconder happy? That was Councillor Hubel, I think.
Hello.
Sorry, Councillor Davey. Yeah.
Someone please enlarge the font. I can't read the motion to see. How do I enlarge? Thank you. Yes, I'm happy. I'm happy with that modification.
Is it still me?
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. Look, I can understand perhaps why the advice was to sort of go around the edges a little bit, but in actual fact, what we're doing here, I think, which is not unreasonable from City of Burnside, I don't think, is asking the two players, the uninformed necessarily watching of the watercourses doesn't necessarily mean there is an issue, but it's definitely worth finding out from them directly what their position on that is. So I think that's probably the way to go. I do think it's here and now. I think it is right to do it tonight. I think putting the 2 in probably makes sense. That's who we're talking about, let's face it. And we're not actually saying that there is a problem. We just like them to confirm that they are doing what they need to do, because it has come up a number of times this winter across my email in regard to residents and the like. So I support the motion in its new form.
Councillor Turnbull, you wish to speak, because I think you only asked a question. So the other way around, I think you can ask a question, Councillor Turnbull.
Whoopsie, unmute. Does that mean we can't have our meeting next week when it's going to happen? If we have to wait for a written reply before we can go ahead?
Sorry, Councillor Turnbull, you were just muted at the start of that. Could you just repeat your
My
comment?
question is, if this goes ahead, the council writes to Borrell and seeking the following, does that mean we can't go ahead with our meeting, which was going to be scheduled for next week? We have to wait for them to reply before we can do that.
I don't believe so, but through Madam Mayor, I'd like to refer it to Mr. Cant for a quick comment.
Through your worship, I'd be comfortable still to meet with them on site.
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
All right, Councillor Dawes.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to add to what Councillor Turnbull has just said. We did get some initial correspondence from Borrell. I think there was an overflow issue there, but it's not only at the spot at the top of Ferguson Reserve, but it's both sides of Hallett Road. And when I took a dog for a walk at Kensington Gardens Reserve, it was equally murky down there. So it's an issue not just in one area. And with the amount of rain that's happening and still to happen, I believe that this motion is quite opportune.
Right, I have no further hands up. So unless anyone acts quickly, I'm going to move back to Councillor Davis. All right, Councillor Davis.
Yeah, thank you very much for your comments. Look, Lillian wants to go, I think.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Councillor Henschke just snuck in, I think.
Sorry, a question then, Councillor Henschke.
Thank you. Question is, how do we know, adding to Councillor Dawes, how do we know that it's these 2 companies and it's not someone doing a subdivision in some block of land that's also discharging into the creek?
Through Madam Mayor, I think it's important that if the sedimentation we're seeing is not coming from those 2 main entities, then that gives us another angle that we need to pursue. I think this is the first, our initial investigations or inquiry needs to be with our 2 major operators, and then but pending the answers, I think then that gives us the opportunity to go and investigate further afield if we think that sedimentation is coming from elsewhere. So it's certainly a valid thought, but I think this step's an important initial step.
Right, now Councillor Davis.
Great, thank you very much for your comments tonight. There are 2 sedimentation ponds from Hanson Quarries that are on the other side of the road, which I believe are in the suburb of Skye, which I do believe is in the City of Burnside Council. The reason for the urgency, and look, I apologise that I couldn't get it in time, but I've really seen this over the last couple of days, and residents have been sending me photos almost daily of what the creek is actually looking like, and more particularly, very recently, it actually seems to have gotten worse. So I've had photos from the outlet at the top of Penfold Road at the beginning of the week, and then even later in the week, and it seems like it is actually worsening. What my fear is that the sedimentation pond is collecting all the water, new water, which, and when I spoke with Borrell about this a long time ago, they said that after a downpour, it would actually be clean water and that would come straight through. What I'm concerned is that fresh water is coming into the sedimentation pond, which has these turbidity issues, and then that's causing turbulent water, the freshwater turbulent water, to then pool into the rivers. I think that this is when we should do it as well. We shouldn't wait another 2 weeks when we have essentially our creeks are flowing brown at the moment. It could be anything, but my suspicion is that it's a result of the two quarries, given that if you look at the outlet, that's where it starts getting brown. I mean, for Hanson Quarries, there is a significant creek or river system that is above the quarry, in fact, so it could actually be not them at all. It could actually come naturally from the hills ranges, whereas Borrell, I don't believe, have a similar creek. But these questions, it allows them to essentially answer them. I think it's really important to show them that we are taking an active interest in this. This water has a significant impact as well on other council projects like Era Water, particularly coming out of
1 minute to go.
Coming out of Third Creek. So I think the council should take a proactive view on this. And look, I do apologise to bring this as not a motion on notice. I would normally try and do that, but I was just a bit slow. Look, I hope that you can support this. I think the timing is right for it. And I also think that asking them this question now will force them to actually have a look at what their effect is now, rather than in 2 weeks' time when they forget perhaps what's happening today. So, and it also gives them the opportunity, and I would expect the administration to act kind of quickly on this, to ask that question, then for them to go and appreciate the impact that they're having potentially on the downhill stream, and if there's anything they can do immediately to rectify it. And I think it's important for our community to see that council is following these issues up. We're asking the right questions. I'm not saying it's absolutely them, but it definitely could be. And I think that by asking these questions, it will give those quarries the opportunity to clarify that. So I hope you support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Now, all those are in favour, please raise your hands. It appears to me that it is carried, yes. Thank you very much for your support on that. Now, we only have one confidential item, and obviously you can get up and go and take a break whenever you need to, but I don't want to have a formal break. I'd like us to go straight into items 15, because I believe we only have to go into confidence.
Worship, are we doing Councillor Henschke's?
Sorry, I apologise. Yes, I apologise most sincerely. Yes, getting ahead of myself. Councillor Henschke, well, that's with the approval of the rest of the members. That we accept Councillor Henschke's motion that she attempted to put in earlier. Can I get an indication of hands? Those are happy to allow Councillor Henschke to go ahead and put this motion now. I've only got 4.
4 hands.
So I've only got 4 hands. So my suggestion, Councillor Henschke, is that you work with administration to bring up a motion for the next council meeting that pretty much directly says what you've already said. And that it will be then looked at the next council meeting, since we didn't get sufficient support for it for tonight.
Is that a question, Councillor Jones, or is your hand just look? No, cool.
Sorry, no, just Hank left over.
No, all good.
All right, so now we will move on to the confidential item. And I usually rely on Councillor Cornish. We won't need to read it because it's up there on the screen, but need to just get that screen to go up a little bit more if we could. Thank you. And this is in relation to East Waste, satisfied so that to pursue and under the Act, we're going into confidence for this item, 15.1. So I will move accordingly. Sorry, Councillor Cornish has moved. I need a seconder. Councillor Davis, seconding. Thank you very much. All those in favour of going into confidence? Carried.